Hi, Nick from CJ Solutions here. One of the
Do you have, that's your only computer, right?
That's mobile. iPhone.
I don't know if it works from mobile.
You could put them on a Skype as well.
That's different than what I was asked to do.
Oh, okay.
Just saying.
I was wondering if it makes it harder to do it.
The understanding we got was that we want the community to be able to watch and listen to this rather than an interaction.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what now I need to test it
Okay.
from the computer.
So you can test it for my investment.
Well, I don't want to mess with that. So
Okay.
I got a purpose and it seems to be doing that purpose. So I want to simulate some kind of community of our PC. The URL won't work from my mobile. It's like, hey, is there something? Well, I'll test something with the machine. I'm about to test that. Your computer's up there. I don't know what you want to actually see. What is here?
Just have to get my batteries, and the other piece is once we figure that out, is this some link that I can put on Facebook for those?
Well, I'm about to test that link is what I'm about to do.
Is that what it, okay,
Yeah.
so I didn't know if it was translated.
My mobile, so we'll see where it's going. So, dude, you're not a real sound guy until you've done documentaries.
Wow, what does that mean?
Well, when it's a scripted production where it's, scene one, take 5, go, oh, or here in the shot, move a little bit, versus, okay, there's the man, go. Yeah, get too close. Crash the water, But yeah, completely more than anything I've done before. And baby steps. Right, kind of. Yeah, there's no it's before you go to bed, make sure your ear is straight. I'm sure you're on. Yeah. I'm using that thought. Okay, Michael. It's working. It's not exactly up to date. If you moved your headphone off your ear, and it still shows you looking at your phone.
It's got a latency
This is
problem.
also a POS computer, so like I bought this for reading scripts off of it, not for doing fancy ones. So. But you know, I can take a turn. I can also hear ambient sound. There, now I'm seeing like a little, just now. So there's at least a 10, 15 second. Yeah, he did all these actions on 15 seconds. So you know, we like watching the football games. Well, we've got a fan going. I'm over here. It sounds like
Yeah.
well, this is the 20-minute travel version.
It's okay.
And I've never done this before.
I have not had a version of this recently. I have meetings with set up Skype that we do.
But then how would people watch?
Because they would see, they would be watching. They would just see Skype, they would hear, but they would
So they would need to install Skype.
well, whoever's there.
Right, so this is a browser. So by having to install Skype, people would do it for your audience, right? Possibly more than that.
Yeah, no. Actually, there's another URL.
I knew that YouTube live stream was a thing. So
I never heard of it. Anyway, all you do is try it and see it.
I knew it was 12 hours ahead of time.
I didn't know about it, so I arrived at the
You knew about it before I did.
Yeah.
But anyhow, when Michael's not there, you'll see the screen now. If you like it, actually, if you want, we can position it so it actually gets just the projector screen.
I'm just wondering what's the best. I was almost thinking I'd put it up there so they can see the audience and see Tommy.
Well, I asked Lauren about whether they needed to see
thank
the
you.
audience, and she said no audience.
Yeah, they probably don't. It's just a question of context.
Initially, I was thinking the whole room,
Yeah. Because
but I got overruled, and honestly, I don't have a firm opinion on that. It's just-
I don't think she cares. I don't think she's thought about it. Because the whole room is, if they're hearing people ask questions and have a conversation, and I'm just seeing one side of the conversation, I think seeing the whole room would be my vote for that.
The closer the people in the room are to this computer, the better their questions will be heard by the community, if anyone's tuned in, assuming. What I'm not sure about is how well the din and sound will pick up by this microphone. So we may need to lean towards louder on the denon rather than softer.
Yeah.
Because the denon sound comes from.
Yeah, all over.
Yeah. Anyway.
It is what it is.
We're probably less than 15 minutes away from go. Did you want to call the people ahead of time? Or
Yeah.
do some A/B testing? We're 19 minutes away.
That's all right.
Just so you know, Barrett, I could hear your and my conversation up here pretty clearly. It's not beautiful sound, but it's perfectly audible.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, hey, maybe we try it out. We see them. They can tell us how it went.
Yours?
See Michael? This is Michael 15 seconds.
Doesn't work.
No, it does, just, you'll see this in 15 seconds.
So
See,
there's
you see,
lag time.
Well, so what?
Okay.
They're not interacting anymore. So there's like, these people aren't gonna interact, so it's
I get it. I'm okay with this. So can we get this link and then?
They know this actually emailed it to me from you, so.
Amazing. Can I, minimize this guy?
Wait. Well, he's already in position.
Okay, I don't have to move it.
But don't you have your email on your phone?
Yeah, but then I can't post from my phone to my,
You need this computer.
just because I don't know what I'm doing
This
yet.
computer is the broadcaster. The less we can do, the better. Oh, you want to use my computer? Or you have to use something specific.
I want to get from my email to my Facebook page. But wait, don't move it. Don't move it. I can go like this. I took gymnastics when I was a kid.
You can move it as long as you move it back.
Okay. I don't have your email though.
So, in your sent messages, an email to me, it's the second of those, the shorter URL. The one that starts with http://youtube.me.
Sent. Okay, cool. RP, you're a badass, bro.
Very cool. Thank you for your help.
This one, right?
Go down more. Is that the second message? Yeah, that is the one. That is the one. Yes, confirmed.
Amazing.
Eric, do you want that URL too?
Do I want what?
Do you want the URL to send to people as well?
The Earl.
The URL, no, I don't. I'm not saying it.
I say URL to economize on syllables.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm gonna remember that.
The number of times I have to say URL in my life, I've probably saved like 2 hours already.
Penny saved is a penny earned.
So even though there's a lag, I will say that the fluidity and clarity even on this POS computer is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Look, come and take a look when you want. We'll get there to Google Dance. That's the camera there.
You don't have to get you.
Although I appreciated the dancing regardless. No, but she has to be here. I've just heard you say penny saved, penny earned just now. So it's more like a 20, 25 second delay.
As long as they're not trying to have a two-way conversation, that's fine.
Well, YouTube doesn't have a facility for that in YouTube, right? It's like watching a YouTube video live. There, I see the dance now. You missed it, Mark. But it was relatively fluid. And not because of Barrett's skill, just because of the.
Yeah, definitely not because of their skill. But nobody's ever accused me of being fluid.
Hey, we're hosting an event from 12 to 1. You should totally be a part of.
Should I be a part of it?
Yep,
Well, you can be a part of it from your desk just by using this URL.
it's true.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna go back home and log in.
I mean, I'm not exactly 100% sure. I just thought I needed to get the tech working. I think I've done that.
Michael Peelos is the place.
No, he's the show.
He is the show. You are the show.
It's live. This is about a 15, 20-second lag.
27.
It's my YouTube stream, which I've never done.
Live is a bit of a misnomer.
I don't know, in today's day and age, even live broadcasts on traditional media usually have a 12-second delay in case
That's
you
true.
need to beep out expletives
Yeah.
or somebody gets naked on the field or whatever, so. Well, but then anything that's live is not really live, but it's faster to say live broadcast than to say not really live broadcast.
Oh, this is great.
Economy of syllables.
You doing okay? Good stuff. I sent a couple texts by Skype. I just want to make sure it's really in Skype.
Laura,
Yes, dear.
how's your program?
I am just posting this to all the people that.
You're
Try
almost
what
half the
now?
show right now.
Well, otherwise, Michael is.
The camera, he's maybe like a 10.
Happy when I'm dressed appropriately here. I did. I have to see if I'm dressed appropriately. Oh, Lauren. Well, you never know.
Yes, I said with the setting.
Very good. Smart.
It is now.
Oh, there you are. Skype name match.
RP, I seriously don't know what we did without you.
You got the Earl, now you're just doing what you
Oh,
want.
now we're all giggling. And I see Michael giggling in the back.
I think I kind of figured out on the screen so everyone can see.
Oh, God. Is that my cackle?
Sorry, it's my headphones. No one's wearing them. But I do think, you have a way to post this to a device other than that computer, maybe soon would be a good time to do that, because 12 minutes from showtime.
Take off.
Okay. So I'm trying to get in here. It takes too long. I got your contact request. I'll see you online. Testing, there we are. So, shall we do a call just to do the logistics in the room, see if you can see us, and see if does that work for you?
Oh, do you see? So you don't see what I'm typing. You don't see my screen.
I see what you're
Calling you
talking
now.
about.
Okay, great. Okay.
Do you want to come see what I see? It's right here.
Yeah. Okay.
Just remember, you're 30 seconds.
There you go.
He needs to tilt his camera down.
Can you tilt your camera down?
Yes.
Not that we don't like looking.
That's good.
No,
No, that's
good.
perfect. That's
very
great.
good. And this is co-space. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
Can you see this gentleman back here?
See that guy there? Nice beard. Clearly has a good screen.
That's great. Okay.
Okay, I'm just turning up the volume.
So I'll see if I can hear him on here.
Okay. We have nothing but high tech here, Tom.
Okay. This is awesome.
There we are.
This is
Okay. We'll set up the room. Can you can see us okay? You can see us okay?
Yeah, looks great.
Okay, and so I'll call you back in about 9 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes. And my first question is going to invite you just to tell a little bit about who you are and what you do. And then we'll move into the other question, okay?
All right, sounds great.
Yeah, me too. Thanks a lot.
I don't doubt my capacity to HR.
Okay, how do we want this set up?
Okay. Yeah.
So, oh, how you want to do it?
Oh, right.
Well, I mean, ideally, you want your participants to be in frame. So,
I was
so guaranteed in frame is here.
Yeah.
And anything off to the side, you gotta watch them.
You want to do like a V thing, like an alleyway in the middle? You're the professional facilitator.
Now,
it's a question.
Lauren's computer can move closer if all we want is the guy on the screen. It won't affect the audio, but it might improve what the people in the communities are seeing. So
it's actually not the there. I'm just looking at what I see there. Well, you can see what you see.
In an ideal world, actually not yet. And again, I don't know how many folks we have to expect.
I'm right here, so I'll be right here. If I'm sitting here,
I swear to God.
so this actually works pretty good. Because you can see, I can direct my thing to him and him to me.
Great.
That's all.
Okay, so you just
Oh, no,
moved
that computer can't.
me.
I know, I just moved her.
There you go. No, lower, ideally, we're center. With that
Okay,
computer.
just move this over.
Like,
And I just, how are you now?
well, it'll take 30 seconds before I know,
Okay,
right? But
that's
I'll do this one.
Okay.
Thanks.
I think this, we just kind of. That kind of worked, actually. That works when people sit around there.
Not bad, Lauren, not bad.
Okay, so here, you're there. Folks.
So the only concern that we haven't really had a way to test is whether the Skype guy's audio coming from the dead ends is gonna properly get into the microphone
That's-
here. We don't know yet. We'll see.
Right.
I'll listen. And maybe, I feel like I could hear him when he was talking about my beard and stuff, but I just have the headset on. So.
Okay, and the question then is if this works, let's see what the kinks are, because I'd like to do this every year if we have, if I can.
Yeah, well, let's see if I remember how to do it after all. In 20 minutes, I guarantee you we're only went into short
Actually, the best part is,
Yeah.
because I don't
Let's
like
do it,
Looney
right?
Tunes. Yours.
Work for natives.
Good. That part of it, but I also never watched Looney Tunes because I didn't like their names to each
The
other.
Bugs Bunny's on the sport and he's picking off Indians.
Oh.
One little, two little, three
Oh,
little.
no.
And then he marks them off on his wall. And he marks off one, scratches it, oh, that was half of it. So he cuts it in half.
Shut up.
Yeah.
I only watched
Yeah,
Tom
that's
and
what this is
Jerry.
about. That's what this is about.
I watched Tom and Jerry because they were friends.
Yeah.
And they were actually friends. Like at one point, he was like mad because the cat had a girlfriend and wasn't playing with him anymore. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah. Well, Bugs Bunny's.
yeah, he's mad. And I just did the Looney Tunes about like that they were also each other. I kind of like the sheepdog and the wolf. They were friends.
Yeah.
And they would have lunch
Yeah, it was
together.
all business, right?
Yeah.
It was just like, hey.
It's very sensitive child. I was like, these animals are cute, and I needed an animal. Those guys were shit.
I hate that shit.
Oh, such a- How are you doing? You're backing close to me.
Well, it's never left. If you were
Oh,
on
you just said that.
just for because I had to, when you had it.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's great. And your wife was showing me a photo of your new back.
You know what I mean? Yes.
She was very excited about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Hi. Are you here for Ghost Space Conversations? Yes. Sweet.
You,
Oh, great, great.
what's your name?
Lauren, no, it actually is, yeah.
That's a love that.
Yeah, no, look at this, it's really fun now. So it doesn't work anymore. Like I can't unlock it half the time, so it's good. But I was looking at getting a new one. Alright, cool. I was saying, yours to be $20 a month.
Yeah.
Not because you need phone yourself. Yeah. What was that?
Oh, is that what you're looking for? Brooklyn?
Yeah. I think I see. A bunch of people.
Well, how are you?
Yeah, thanks. Good, yours.
It's so nice to have you.
Oh, thank you. And it's only $55. Me too. And I have a so, I mean, this plan is to know that I have to buy, it's buy all my stuff.
No, just in Mark's office.
Yes. I was looking at an iPhone, but I have to rethink about that. And my Mac, so I got my Mac a year and 4 months ago, ready to replace the hard drive, now it's replaced the battery. Yeah,
Wow. Must have been like on Friday or something.
I know, and I called them and they're like, well, it's refurbished. I'm like, yeah, but the whole point about refurbished is that you refurbish it.
It's guaranteed, you know.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, well, she's probably never had it before. She's like, well, when refurbish, you're probably just gonna change the battery. I'm like, oh, just change the battery.
If they were really, they would have gone to go back off.
And I bought it from Apple, like 5 minutes. So I'm not.
Whitehorse may show up
artist
late.
right now. It's like, well, good thing I spent $2,500 on a laptop.
think
It's
about
not that to read your cards.
Yeah.
And I don't, the thing that sucks, is you have to use.
Do you wanna
or
start on
take it
time?
into Media Solutions, so then.
Well, I think we can,
Yeah.
I think,
It's
that's
just
fine.
times that I'm not interested right now. 'Cause they
Welcome,
have,
sir.
they finally responded. I've sent them 2 emails, 3
Ginger shoes.
Facebook messages, and 2 voicemails.
Anyway, it's just walking in the
They're
hub.
And it caught me because here's the thing, I posted on the Facebook page and it sent me
I'm not
emails to my
sure.
personal email, so the account is allowed into my Facebook.
Is it a big?
I'm like, how did you know? And my name on
It will
Facebook
be.
is the
You can
same
start
as
it out.
my name. It's like Sputnik.
Do you actually send it in there sometimes?
It's not done.
Because they install that software
Yeah, on my
on the
computer.
computer.
It's
That's
creepy.
It is creepy, right? So they're like spying the
Yeah.
system, see if it's okay, and apparently.
Everybody's Facebook does.
Release that information.
Yeah, well, clearly they're not doing a good job, and they realized my battery was broken since they sent it back to me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Million.
Is he calling you or are you calling him?
No, I'm calling him. Give him a minute. Actually, what I'll do is, because we know folks will be late. Welcome.
Hi. Are you here for the town business conversation? It's got some. Cool. All right. Welcome to this place again.
Marquis.
Oh, good to meet you.
So what I'm gonna do, guys, I'm gonna dial Tommy Priest up in a minute, but I'll save introducing him until he's actually on screen, and then I'll let him introduce himself. But to say, he's in Winston-Salem. He's recovering from some infection, so but he said he's 80%, so he's all right. But while we wait for folks to show up, I think what I'll do is get them on screen and let us say who we are, okay? And so if you don't mind, you'll be able to, the camera's up there in that computer facing us. Hi, come on in. And, so does that make sense? I'm Barrett, by the way, if you don't know who I am. Does that make sense? You guys okay with that? Okay, it's kind of one of those awkward things, you know, but here you are. Welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Hey, Tommy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right. So we'll have folks straggling in here for a few minutes, but I thought while we wait for them to come, everybody knows that you're Tommy Priest, and I'll let you explain a little bit about that in a minute. But I thought the folks who are here at least could tell you who they are. How does that sound? That sound all right? Can you guys hear all right?
A little bit more maybe.
A little more volume?
You have the remote. You have the remote.
I have the remote.
Yeah,
I have the remote.
it's right next, the big one.
Yeah.
That's the button on it.
There you go. So can you hear us okay? Can you hear me okay?
Fine, this up, you keep it good.
There you go. Trying to, oh, there you go.
What's his name?
Tommy.
Hi, Tommy. Hi, how are you?
There you go.
So, these ones we got.
Yeah, got it. So we'll start over here. Susan.
Oh, hi, Tommy. My name is Susan Stanley, and I have this little, I don't know what to call it, a company. I don't know what to call it. Anyway, it's called the Artist Project, and I represent a few Yukon artists. And I just saw this. I saw you advertise through, I think, a site that maybe Barrett's Facebook page or
Probably,
LinkedIn.
yeah.
I'm not sure. Anyway, it looked interesting, so I'm here to absorb.
Thank you. I mean, the art, hi.
You want to answer that question or?
Mark, did you have a question for Susan?
I did. I want to know, how do you represent artists? In what form?
Well, I'm sort of their contact for galleries and curators, and I sell their art online. Or that's,
Fantastic.
well, yeah, that's the tough part. Selling original art online is, it's kind of tough. I mean, we never thought we could sell clothes online, but now we can. So maybe one day we'll be able to really sell art online, so.
Okay, fantastic.
I'm Jacob. I'm an artistic director of a theater company in town, and I'm also a facilitator and process designer.
So, fantastic. Sure.
Michael Tilo, also a facilitator, have an economic development background. And yeah.
Great. Nice to see you.
RP Singh, I'm an expert Skype installer.
Simon Scholar.
Hey Tommy, my name
Fantastic.
is Lauren. I am one of the staff members here that has partnered with Barrett to create this. Thank you very much for being a part of us.
Oh, thanks for the opportunity. See someone working off just the edges.
I know, there you go, guys.
My name's Shane Wolf. I just started a company to do recommissioning, commissioning of buildings. I'm an engineering consultant.
Could you hear him?
Fantastic.
Could you hear that?
I
Okay? Good, good.
So can you see me?
I think you.
Yeah, I'm Stefan Malowitsky, software engineer, and I'm primarily developing mobile app. And currently I'm the guinea pig for our incubator project here at the Coast Space.
Actually, Stefan, all the folks here have interesting stories, and I know some of them, but Stefan has an interesting story. So, Tommy, your story. First of all, tell us that you're in Winston-Salem, so maybe you can tell us a little bit about who you are really, besides just having opened up your third coffee shop there. Yeah, and but you were a little bit of context about Winston-Salem and something about who you are. You know, the story of Tommy Priest.
All right. Well, I'm not native of Winston-Salem. I was native of North Carolina. I have been in Winston-Salem since 1980, and I came along as a child. So father and mother decided they needed to move here, and I had not left. I went to go to college, university, and travel around the nation. When I originally moved back to Winston-Salem after university, I came to build a coffee shop. It was in 1994. And through various problems and hurdles, I did not fruition at the time, not until 2006, the company started again, had an entire lifetime between that. In spiritual marketing across for blue chip clients. So
Are you guys able to hear, understand?
Yeah.
You know, we're losing, you're cutting out. There's something going on.
If we turn off our video, we can hear a little.
If I turn off the video.
Our Skype video.
You think? Not much fun. I'm gonna try turning off the Skype video. It's
On
our end, not your end. You can leave your end on. And see if we don't, because what's happening is we're losing every other word or something.
When that happened with Nicole, we switched from an act to just.
Okay, can you try talking now?
All right, does that clear up the latency issue?
Yes.
So far.
So far, seems to, yeah. So anyway, so you had the hiatus between your original moving back to Winston-Salem to start a coffee shop in the 1980s, and then you moved back, but you actually didn't start the coffee shop till 2000 something.
2006.
And what did you do between that, in that hiatus again?
I was working for a experiential marketing company out of New York, and with this primarily on blue chip clients. We helped so many clients first PC client, their first little camera loan. We were also part of the first wave of Pokemon phenomenon, working with Nintendo of America and working with Nintendo of Japan, as well as with the coast, Japan, Washington.
So I mean, we're just trying to figure out sound, one more piece. Do you have a Windows computer by any chance, or?
Does it, pardon? Tommy, do you have anything but Skype running on your computer? Do you have any other, like your web browser or anything else open at the same time?
Let me close everything out.
Yeah.
There's always a technical glitch. Someday I'm gonna do this without one.
Oh, I hear you. All right, so I closed everything, stopped the desktop.
Let's give it a whirl.
Hearing improvement,
No.
Marginal.
margin.
Let me just,
Try.
I'm gonna hang up and call you back, but I'm gonna not do this. I'm not gonna do video. I'm just gonna call you back audio.
All right, sounds good.
Can we hear, can you hear us?
I hear you fine.
Can we hear him? Say, talk a little bit.
Okay, I'll talk a little bit.
Yeah, that's better. That sounds better.
Okay.
So you were in the experiential marketing and working with some blue chips and stuff, but then you eventually started a coffee shop.
I did. Yeah, so a friend of mine, actually a couple of friends of mine, we had sat around coffee shops and this, back in the early 90s. I always thought about a moat or a drive-through coffee shop. And we tried a couple of different ideas, none of them came to fruition, and then a friend of ours showed up one day with 1958 straight truck. And we were like, that's it.
Airstream.
That's amazing. And the next day, between Forest Person and downtown of Winston-Salem. And we've been there for 11 years. Subsequently, we opened up 2 shops and let it fire.
And go ahead. But the coffee shops have been only a small part of your passion for Winston-Salem.
Actually, it's been the centerpiece of all we do, because it provides us a point of contact for a lot of folks in Winston. 60% of the American public drinks coffee. I could probably hedge bets that about 90% so we see a lot of folks. I've met a lot of people, but during that time of just taking outside, people, they waited for their coffee. We struck up some really interesting conversation. And that into
Tommy, we're still having troubles. It starts off, and the question is, and we're gathering folks here, is there something hitting your microphone, a dongle, a dog, or something?
Getting it all. Maybe back up from it. That in.
We're just, it's really, it's, people are really straining because we're losing.
Not only is he intermittent, Tommy, not only are we hearing you intermittently, but we keep hearing the sound that kind of interferes in the mix. It's like something's striking something or something's tapping something, and it also prevents us from hearing some of your words.
Do you, this is the sort of thing, we're learning as you're the first one, Tommy, I'm sorry, really sorry for the hassle.
It's feedback because it's on the speakers here.
Do you?
The laptop speakers. Feedback. And so what Skype is doing is cutting out the audio instead of having it.
That makes sense.
So we're gonna have better audio if you can turn on the video again. We're gonna have better audio if we mute our end until we actually ask the question.
Yeah.
Okay, Tommy, I'm gonna try something here. Are you still there? I'm gonna mute my end and see, because it might be my microphone, it might be us cutting out on you.
Okay.
And then when we ask a question, I'll unmute. I'm gonna turn the video back on. Oh, shoot. I didn't turn the video on, I actually.
Thanks, everyone. This is our first round of this.
Yeah, I really apologize. I can actually text questions too. I can text them.
me to get back.
The video is back. And I'm going to mute and see if it goes. But the question is, tell us a little bit about Winston-Salem.
Can we put his video on too?
So, and turn your video on. And a little bit about Winston-Salem and a little bit about sort of the context in which you're working. What's going on in Winston-Salem? A little bit about the background. And I'm particularly, and a lot of folks are curious about the connection between the business and arts. Okay, and how did that passion evolve, and how has that related to having a coffee shop and an Airstream trailer?
Fantastic.
Okay, so I'm going to mute it. That'll give you a little bit to talk on for a bit.
Okay. All right, so, you know, the intersection of arts, community organizing, and a coffee shop. It seemed like this coffee shop itself is what allowed me to meet the people within Winston-Salem that are influential power brokers, and power brokers in their own right, such as the CEO of the Arts Council. Our Arts Council is the oldest arts council in the United States. It was formed by the Haynes family of the Haynes Brands Company. And the CEO approached me one day to join an effort entitled the Community Innovation Lab. And I was unfamiliar with the social innovation labs that have been popping up over the course of several years. And this one was fielded by EMC Arts out of Harlem, New York. And it's funded through the Keenan Institute for the Arts, which is part of our University of North Carolina School of the Arts, the Winston-Salem Foundation, which is the oldest granting organization within Winston-Salem, and the Arts Council that I mentioned earlier. And I was selected as one of the 12 champions from around the city in order to address some of our more thorny issues. We rallied around the idea that income inequality and wealth inequity is the biggest hindrance to our moving forward together. So we cobbled together an idea of how can we together create a more abundant and equitable Winston-Salem for everyone. All the while maintaining that the arts would be our tool in order to inform and to instruct our community. And so we engaged in this process. It's been over 3 years now. We've since brought it to a close, its formal close, but the repercussions are still having a remarkable impact within organizations, within our education systems, and within our businesses as well. So primarily what I ended up doing was working with a traditionally African-American arts museum titled Delta Arts Center, a service organization entitled Offering Action. Offering Action reaches youth and teaches them how to write about themselves, whether that be through writing plays, through videography, through standard creative writing. And we work together as a hybrid team of 2 nonprofit entities and a for-profit business in order to communicate this message through the arts. And for example, we would invite the community in to view an art show, visual art, and do what is called visual thinking strategies. And we would just ask some very simple questions amongst the group. Give them a lot of Post-it notes. They would go to the piece that they gravitated towards, and then we would watch who those people were. It would be across the socioeconomic spectrum, their cultural backgrounds, their phenotype, and they would instantly recognize that, hey, we gravitated towards the same thing, and conversations start. We spark those conversations just bringing you together. Also utilize various theatrical plays, musical concerts through what is Yukon Wind Symphony became a partner of ours as well, and basically created a network of traditionally siloed organizations to work together, not necessarily in a partnership, but to work together collaboratively around that reset, that how can we together make it more equitable and abundant. But we've been traditionally plagued by divides. economic divides, social divides, very stratified society. And we've seen some change there, but we have a long, long arc in order to achieve any type of true equity in the city. And we're just a small part of the effort that is being led in order to accomplish that.
And how does that link to your business? Okay, so I mean, I hear the passion for addressing the inequities, bringing together some of the siloed parts and divided parts of Winston-Salem. And so you're involved with the Arts Council, you had to say, but you're also an entrepreneur who started up these really interesting coffee businesses. Actually, the one that has all the food guys, the vendors joining together in one place, kind of fun. But how does that fit together? How do you see you're being an entrepreneur, you're building a business there, and also this other passion that's really fed into that?
Okay. Is the sound better now?
Yes, it actually works. When I put it on mute, we can actually hear you. And a little bit about the difference that it has actually made so far. You said there's still lots to go, but what's some of the difference that it's made so far?
Certainly. So how does this fit within an entrepreneurial venture like a coffee shop? It kind of goes back to my own personal philosophy. I got out of the experiential marketing game because I was tired of the so-called rat race, the competitive focus on everything, and tried to instill a new idea, a spirit of co-opetition among different businesses. So we utilized multiple partners within Winston-Salem and Forsyth County in order to elevate their brands amongst our customer base. So we'll use a local bakery as opposed to baking things ourselves. We use a local family that is a pair of empty nesters that decided, oh, we want to roast nuts and package them and sell them to different entities. So we brought them into the fold. We've helped incubate businesses such as the Camino Bakery, which has now elevated itself into 4 locations in Winston-Salem. And they actually incubated in the basement of one of my original partners, Cranky's Coffee, 12 years ago. And it's been in that spirit of co-opetition. We bring in food trucks to any of our locations and allow them to park for free, and we create an almost carnivalesque environment around food. And that's been one of the things that Winston-Salem has seen a keen focus on lately. We are the home to Texas Pete, which is made by Garner Foods, and they've culminated into a culinary arts festival annually as well. So again, it's the spirit of co-opetition that really lends itself to the entrepreneurial focus and being able to reach out into the community. That's been our biggest focus is we'll make money, but we will only make money if our community is healthy. So we have to take more of a community-focused approach in order to ensure our livelihood, but also the livelihood of others along the way. And then you had another question, Barrett, and I've already forgotten it.
That's okay.
That train.
That's okay. Some of the differences that it's made in Winston-Salem, some of the practical outcomes, and then I'm going to open it up to the folks here who might have some questions for you.
So through the efforts of the Community Innovation Lab, that's where we've seen most of the change come. Lots of the nonprofits that are involved in the Innovation Lab have now incorporated artistic practice into all that they do by reaching the community. One of the best examples of that is a nonprofit entitled Neighbors for Better Neighborhoods that is now focused on mapping the gifts, talents, and skills of the individuals within blighted neighborhoods. And so they literally go door to door, and they're not asking the traditional questions of, what are your pain points? What services do you lack? Those are definitely within their question set. But they're now focusing on, what is it that you love that you do? Are you a musician? Are you a visual artist? Are you a poet? Are you a writer? And they're asking these types of questions in order to build community within these neighborhoods that has been extracted by economic life. we have seen a lot of turnover of major corporations in this town. In fact, we're experiencing one right now with the sale of Reynolds American British Tobacco. So Reynolds built Winston-Salem into what it was, and now we are trying to push forward into what it would be. And we're doing a lot of that effort without some of the corporate money that we were able to depend on, especially in the arts organizations. So the individual, we have several hundred nonprofits within Winston-Salem focus on various needs within our county, our city, and the region at large, southeast, respectively, United States. And again, this idea of the arts being a catalyst in order to create this change, or at least spark the conversation that can keep the change, has been one of the guiding forces through many of these organizations, especially after being exposed to the idea of the Community Innovation Lab.
And before I open it up for questions from the folks here, if you were to give any kind of advice, so here's, and people can talk about Whitehorse a little bit. You've looked it up, and you and I've talked about it a little bit. But if you were to give any sort of advice or suggestions, and I know that's an audacious thing to do, to folks who shared similar values, similar concerns, and also entrepreneurs, what might you have to say? What would be, what do you wish you knew when you started that you know now?
I'll start with something that I learned riding around in a bank, cleaning floors at 3 o'clock in the morning when I had just gotten out of college. And I was listening to this AM radio station and had a business advice thing that's going on. And one thing that always stuck with me, if you truly believe in something, you've got to be willing to sell the very bed that you sleep on in order to make it happen. That means it takes and requires a ton of sacrifice. My family has sacrificed tremendously in order to see a lot of these things come to fruition. Because this has never been about the $1 million idea. It's always been about creating community. Whether that's creating communities through over a cup of coffee or creating community in a large crowd through an event in a large space, in which we throw multiples of those in order to rally people around ideas, fundraise, and so on. But probably the best piece of advice is never forget that your friends and your allies will help you, but you have to ask. You always have to ask. And don't be afraid to ask for help. That's probably the best piece of advice that I can give myself daily, because I try to take everything on top of my shoulders and just run on. And then my body breaks down or something happens. So I've seen a lot of people step to the plate just in the past couple of weeks, opening in our third shop in the Scott County Public Library, and renovated for the past 3 years, and just added grand opening last week. It is truly and remarkably the most technologically advanced public library in the United States as of today, and hopefully that will change. I believe that's one of our greatest assets, is that we now have community resources to 1,000 square feet, where anyone in the community is welcome, and we have a shop there to help solidify those conversations that are occurring and are going to occur in the future.
And you might have some questions for the folks here too, but anybody, from what you've heard, is there a question that you'd like to, yeah?
I'm wondering if you could speak a bit more about the strategies for creating collaborations outside of formal partnerships. You mentioned that like it wasn't necessarily getting into long-term business or creating partnerships, but that finding collaboration outside of those, and what strategies to get people on board outside of those formal partnerships.
Can you hear that okay?
I did.
Good
Yeah.
stuff.
That's a fantastic question. Personally, this takes me back to, I wish I could show you the Airstream. Airstream sits in a pastoral setting that is buffered by 200 acres of untouched land. It's been curated by the Methodist Children's Home of North Carolina for the past 122 years. We are not in a strip mall. We're not in a heavily developed area. We're actually in a neighborhood. And that was by choice. So we've become an anchor to that neighborhood. We've become part of the fabric of that neighborhood. And within those people coming to purchase their coffee, we've had conversations about their businesses, their organizations, their loves, their passions, their dogs, their kids. And it's through that honest conversation that we've been able to build these networks, these very loose networks. And I use that term loosely because, again, it's not formalized partnership on paper. It's not something you're going to be held to. It's to find those ideas where there's synergy amongst groups that seemingly are disparate. But what I recognized was that a lot of groups are focused on the exact same thing, but they're unaware of one another. So I create those bridges of awareness by introducing people, by getting them to come have a cup of coffee, and just start a conversation. Because it's not with an ulterior motive of I'm going to sell them something or they're going to buy this from me. It's the only motivation is that through more conversation amongst people that are doing similar things, great things can come out of that. So I'll spark ideas. If I go back into some of my previous life, I was creative director, experience marketing agency for over 8 years. So creating interactive experiences is kind of part of my epistemic fabric. How to tell someone else to do that really depends on the who's and the where you are. Create those opportunities. You create those opportunities at church. Create them within a coffee shop. You can create them at work. So if you see a problem within your community, find other people that recognize the same thing and just start the conversation. That has been the most effective piece, as opposed to trying to go through formalities or through municipalities, through governmental regulations. I've been known for years in this town to, I go directly to the source of the issue and I cut through red tape. And a lot of that has come from just my background of being able to discuss any topic with anyone at any point. And that's just been something that has been ingrained in me since very early on.
You had an interesting event recently where you had the orchestra in the prison.
Oh yeah, yeah we did. Yeah, that was actually an 11-month cycle. It was a test of how to penetrate the seemingly impenetrable judicial and incarceration system. That's Piedmont Wind Symphony, my entity Coffee Park, partnered with the site jail and prison ministries in order to create a concert in the jail. They have a church on site, and a couple of Sundays ago, I brought in a 5-piece wind ensemble, and along with Maestro Piedmont Wind Symphony, and they played a selection of music that ranged anywhere from bluegrass to Baroque. And then they joined with the inmate band, affectionately known as the Cherry Street Ensemble, because the jail is on Cherry Street in Winston-Salem. And it was one of the more moving experiences for all that were involved. That kind of goes back to our precept, our guiding question, basically. How can we together create that more equitable and abundant Winston-Salem? And we mean everybody. So that was one of our small experiments with radical intent that was funded through the Innovation Fund.
Small experiment with radical intent. What does that mean?
Kind of exactly what it is. So something small. So within capacity. So don't go out and try to make this huge plan and seek a bunch of funds. Find something within your capacity that is radically different, or like we would say, it is discontinuous from previous practice. Do something different. It's done before. You already know what the net results potentially could be, but if it's never been done before, that's where you can get excited and you might be surprised at what might be possible.
And I'll ask you to think about any of the spectacular failures that you had, but are there any other questions that folks have? What questions or things that you'd like to pursue relative to what you've heard?
So I just want to know, are you reliant on government at all to aid you, or you'd like to bypass government completely?
So did you hear that? Are you reliant on government at all, or do you like to bypass government completely for funding or for what you do?
Past 3 years, I have been exposed to an entirely new world of grant groups, large granting organizations. It's an interesting world to be in. I much prefer grassroots, raising funds ourselves. For example, International Women's Day, the females that worked within our company decided that they did not want to work that day in solidarity with the Women's March. And I, of course, allowed them to keep their jobs and do what they want to do, because we set an equitable playing field. I don't have staff, I don't have employees, I have part of my family. And these folks have helped me build this business over the course of many years. In fact, I have 2 that have been with me since the inception of it, 11 years now. And they raised $800 in a matter of 5 hours, just standing in line, telling our patrons why they weren't working that day. If we split that up amongst various organizations that assist women that are in peril, whether it be domestic violence, domestic violence, family services shelter, Dress for Success, and all along, it was just, it had nothing to do with any governmental organization. It was not granted by anyone. It was this type of work. It was something that we felt passionately about together, and I felt enabled them to be able to build that passion. I personally prefer to cut through all the red tape and just do it yourself. One of those indications was Artists Unite on January 20th, which was our inauguration day. And as opposed to having a protest event or having a celebratory event, that was a rather interesting day in our history. We decided to have a Artists Unite event, a celebration of peace and diversity. We invited artists from cross-discipline, cross-silo to participate in a feel-good event about art. And we had anything from Syrian belly dancers to classical violinists playing exceptionally challenging guitar. We had drum circles, had African storytelling, had kids do 3,200 people show up. Our population in the city is approximately 205,000. A pretty decent showing. Third largest event in our art center. It was grassroots and the funding, our band of
We're losing. There was some noise behind you there. It sounds like it's gone away now. We were losing you. There was another question in the back.
Yeah, like how are you getting your message out to the community, and how are they responding to it?
So how do you get your message out to the community? How are they responding to
it? Primarily social media. We utilize basically every form of social media we can get our hands on. So we cobbled together a group of interested artists, and we gave them a title, Intersections and Conversations. So this group of folks are basically our brand ambassadors. They assist us in getting the word out and amplifying the things that they're doing as well. And so this is the group of visual artists, musical artists, community organizers, and folks that are involved in various nonprofit organizations as well. All the while, Winston-Salem has a moniker that they hold very proudly, the City of Arts and Innovation. And so we have had several articles and from various media outlets that are keenly aware of what our mission is, and they have helped us tremendously in getting that word out at large. We've also participated in larger cultural events, such as the Piedmont Wind Symphony this past December brought in Bob Marley's band, the Whalers, to play with the Wind Symphony. It was the first time that the band had ever played with an orchestra. We had a very dedicated 25 to 30 people presence. The maestro mentored us on stage, and we mingled with the crowd. And again, it was that face-to-face communication that's really built that. So it's been a combination of a lot of different tactics in order to make people aware of what our mission is.
Thank you. Yeah, Mike.
How are you measuring success in achieving your vision?
How are you measuring success in achieving the vision?
Where are you?
Where are you?
The age-old question. How do you measure success of an endeavor? Measure of our success is not necessarily being quantified at this point. What has been recognized by the granting organizations that started the Community Innovation Lab is that they are now doing a full developmental evaluation of what has transpired in order to direct what they believe should be the next steps. My measurement of it has been watching the transformation of the various nonprofit organizations in town and the individuals at large, artists specifically, to have a renewed focus on social justice arcs with their work. And they're now more focused on reaching those communities that don't have access to the arts. Our legislature has slashed arts funding drastically to the bone in the past 8 years. In fact, this year, my oldest daughter was impacted with their student-led play at the early college at Forsyth, and they had a small budget of $500, but the school experienced a budget cut of $116,000 for 236 students. That's been felt across the board. So now they are learning 500 points of fundraising at the ripe old age of 15.
Tommy, how do you, so the space that you are speaking to, this co-space, shares so much about the idea of letting go of silos and creating community in one ecosystem toward one goal. In particular, this is to support, what we do is to support entrepreneurialism. And anyone who would like to explore that or has explored it and wants support. How do you continue to get past the idea of ego for someone to let go of what belongs to them so that they can actually take advantage of and obviously prove and succeed in more than they could have done if they were alone?
I see you chuckling at that question.
That's been an individual question for years and years. I was lucky enough to be on the road with a practitioner of Kabbalah, now with Rose Lee and Tel Aviv. And he's been challenging me to let go of my own ego for decades. And that's always been kind of a challenge. Is that how do you fulfill yourself, but yet fulfill the needs of others as well? So it kind of goes back to a question we had earlier about how do we maintain profitability or in the entrepreneurial spirit. what does coffee, my primary line of business, have to do with any of this? It has been nothing more than a vehicle in order to reach the community. So it doesn't have anything to do with it. It could have been a candy store. As long as you have that, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Carlos Castaneda. He's an anthropologist in the late 60s, early 70s, became kind of a new age guru. But in his writings, following the path of heart, so we've identified those people that are following that path. It's not about whether they're going to make that $1 billion idea. It's not about whether they're going to create the next great widget. It is more about whether their community is going to be bettered by what they do. So it is definitely, it's identifying your allies and giving them a reason to be together, because there is strength in unity. There is strength in those numbers. And that's something that we found through these different spaces. There are several co-working spaces within Salem and the Triad at large, which are 3 larger cities of about 1.2 million people. Greensboro, North Carolina, and High Point, North Carolina. Flywheel Co-Space is one of those that takes a more for-profit initiative. They do bring in some of the nonprofit elements, trying to match people up with their venture capitalists and offering them workshops on business plan writing, something that's pretty is who to talk to when you're starting a business within this municipality. So, again, there are even more. We have a getting ready to launch in January 2018 space entitled Mixer, which will be a nonprofit makerspace. They're currently renovating their new property. This idea has been germinating for over 8 years in mind of the ED. And he will bring a lot of these elements from the innovation lab into Mixer, MIXXER, in order to kind of foster relationships, foster the entrepreneurial spirit within these makers that are seeing more and more of all over the world. We're now creating things again. And we're creating them together in spaces, which sounds like you're doing there. That's fantastic to see. This isn't a one-off idea. This is something that can happen on a global scale.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would have a question. Maybe you asked it for me. I'm wondering whether his community is called Winston-Salem.
Winston-Salem, yes.
Salem is part of the beer localist movement called BALL-E, Business Alliance for Local Living Economics.
There's a local business alliance for local.
BALL-E, it's called BALL-E. It's beerlocalist.org. It's a huge
Be a localist
organization in the US.
Stefan is involved with trying to build an app that it enables local businesses to thrive and connect with local consumers. But there's a social movement of trying to figure out how to support, encourage, enable local businesses. So what is your question, Stefan?
So the organization in the States is called BALL-E, Business Alliance for Local Living Economics.
For local living economics.
And they was just wondering whether...
wondering if Winston-Salem is involved with that or has a part in that.
No, I'm happy with that. I'd love some more information on it, though. We did just set up the third venture cafe in the world. There's one in St. Louis, one in Stockholm, and now one in Winston-Salem, which is, I don't know if it's similar to the entity you're referring to, but Venture Cafe, it's a well-funded idea where we, again, bring in speakers from across the globe in order to encourage entrepreneurship, match people up with angel investors, equity investors, debt investors, and again, just try to foster that innovative spirit. We've taken, the city has taken kind of a sharp turn into biotech spaces. And we're seeing some great benefit. We're creating jobs. But in order to fill those positions, we need an educated workforce. And we were just identified to have 6 of the worst performing schools in the state within our county. So we have a long way to go in the education department.
Wow. I will, if you're amenable to it, I'm happy to share with the folks here contact information if they want to. Is that too much for you? Or do you want to have it mediated?
Okay.
Is that okay? Okay. So I'll be happy to share contact information. Any other questions or comments or thoughts as you've been listening to Tommy's experience? Do you have any questions for us, Tommy, or anything that you'd like to raise with us?
How many of you in the room work together?
I suppose that's a question. What does together mean?
There's some type of collaborative work, or you worked on projects together. Are you each individual and have your own thing that you do, and you just happen to be here for this event?
I think the majority.
Or connections. I'm interested in what the connections are between people in the room.
So I'll speak for some of us. So this being a co-space, a handful of these folks in the room are members or staff members. And being a part of co-space, just the collaborative environment, the co-working space. There are few folks that don't either literally work and partner together on projects or collaborate on projects. I don't know if anyone has not collaborated, at least in voice and idea exchange, with anyone who's a member here, unless you just joined today. And then, gentlemen and madame, you guys are leaders in the community and you're an entrepreneur and in arts. So have you worked with anybody here?
One of my board members just stepped out, and I collaborated with Michael as a participant in programs at BAM, but I'm relatively new to town, so working on it.
Yeah. I mean, CoSpace grew out of a cooperative, collaborative movement, actually, a network. And so it exists because of collaboration and cooperation. It's a nonprofit, it's a society. And it's a part of a Yukon, which is makerspace. So the CoSpace and makerspace are part of the same society. Two different locations at the moment. And a pretty diverse group of interests, actually. Fair number of consultants, people doing various kinds of consulting, but other kinds of entrepreneurs starting up new businesses. A lot of IT in terms of CoSpace, folks who have various involvement in aspects of the knowledge industry, so IT and related fields. But anything else?
Thank you, Tommy.
I want to thank each of you for allowing me this time to kind of share some of the things that we've been through here. And I look forward to hearing your accomplishments in Yukon.
Yeah. But we'll stay in touch, and we like coffee in the Yukon too. So I think you should make a coffee tour.
Coffee exchange.
Coffee exchange. Absolutely. Any other last questions before we thank Tommy for his?
Thanks, Tommy.
Well,
nice to meet you.
Thank you, Tommy. Really appreciate it.
Yes.
And blessings on you. We'll be in touch.
Peace and blessings.
Take care. So guys, thank you very much. Anybody want to say anything to Lauren and me about these lunch conversations? This is the first one. It's kind of technical problems need to sort out. Comments, questions?
This is actually, would love to hear this. This is something we'll keep idling, so to speak. And the idea is,
Well, how do you choose your speakers? Like I thought what he had to say was quite inspiring, but how do you go about choosing your speakers?
We look for people that have things to say that we hope will be inspiring.
Well, and Jared in particular has a large network, an international network of serious movers and shakers, but with a different twist.
Yes.
I mean, Tommy hasn't read a book yet, but you could go for the guys that have written the book and throw things in without reading a book yet. So they're really highly connected. And then this network at CoSpace essentially naturally encourages conversations from folks internationally that are doing really amazing work and just don't have enough chosen Whitehorse for a lot of reasons. So we're really, to be entirely honest with you, we're open to suggestions.
Yep.
And then otherwise it's just kind of.
It's really building on networks that we hear about, and
Yeah.
Lauren and I, I reflect with Lauren about them. My goal is to find people of some international standing, quite frankly, people who have, their profile has generated some buzz at some level around the world, okay? So Tommy actually has created some buzz, and I encountered him through some other networks, and I thought, oh, this sounds kind of interesting, and he was available for today. And I was especially intrigued by the combination of entrepreneurial, his obviously passion for business, he's got it doing well with his coffee shops, but the arts, and the idea that this whole thing is about building a community, as he uses the word abundant, addressing the inequities that are deeply rooted as part of the culture that he's in. And so you see these two sides of the passion come together, which I think, to me, reflected a lot of what I experienced and see in Yukon.
And as CoSpace, kind of the Yukon Start CoSpace family, our goal was essentially to expose our entrepreneurs to be immediately our members, but we happen to be a part of a growing ecosystem that's supported by economic development and the makerspace and M&A Ventures, Cold Climate Innovation, essentially trying to come together unsiloed in an unsiloed fashion to create a space for entrepreneurs to get as much as they need and hopefully more, so that they can continue to improve their ideas, connect with the outside community, so that Whitehorse and the North continues to be, but grows more so to be a place you can actually start a company because you know that you have a network and a community to support that. And this is just one of the conversations again that we're
Yeah. So the question for us is it overkill to try 2 a month? Should we just do 1 a month? We started out thinking 2. We had one on the 24th, and Mannequin. Donald, thank you. Donald Mannequin, who's a really interesting combination of he's an academic, but he's also a developer, and has came into Baltimore into places where basically the communities had collapsed, but they also had a need because of the people leaving the schools. Teachers couldn't find housing, and so they ended up doing some sort of brown site development of what had been factories and industrial sites, turned them into affordable living spaces for teachers and other professionals who need to live in the city, and with a view of revitalizing the city and thinking about it. So again, it's a combination, I think I'm getting it right, a combination of a vision for making a difference in the society, okay, a difference in the community, but some entrepreneurial energies and expertise, and building a community, And so in many ways there's echoes, but it's a different thing. It's around property and neighborhood development. So that's the 24th. We potentially have some folks, but I'm waiting for them to confirm on the October the 10th. And oh no, it's not the 24th. It's what is Mannequin Donald is
26 at lunch.
26. Yeah, I think the 24th. 24th. I can't get in October and September. So it's the 26th of September for Donald Mannequin, and then we have tentatively the 10th and the 24th of October. We have conversations. So waiting to get confirmation.
And then check the calendar as well, the CoSpace calendar, because a lot of other things are going on in the Entrepreneur Speaker Series with Bob Baxter the first Tuesday next month. We just launched a second pilot. We're launching a second incubator program called CoLab for ideas, folks that have an idea or at least are somewhere in their entrepreneurial venture and want to be handheld for the next, entirely funded for 3 months. So if you know any exciting entrepreneurs that want to go from where they are to the next step and want to be supported, that happens here. Sorry.
So but the October the 10th, potentially, if he is able to confirm, we had one fellow and he had to back out because he's going to be in South Africa on the day of. The fellow that they recommended I chat to is a guy who has a very significant reputation in design thinking in Britain and entrepreneurial, building businesses and thinking of clients through design thinking. So human-centered design, actually. And a really interesting guy, Neil Stone. And then the 24th of October, again, I'm waiting for confirmation. The fellow who's been here has a real passion. He did a TEDx talk up at Yukon College. It's Norm Fraser. And he's been a runner-up for Entrepreneur of the Year in the UK. And just won a significant entrepreneurial award by the UK Parliament. And but he loves Yukon. And so he's said he'll do it on the 24th. There's a number of things going on. Right?
So he's coming or what's
That's it. He might come. He might be here.
Great.
Well, that's what he's saying. He's saying, I think I can come. I can actually be there. But there's been some things happening in his business that have left him unable to make a confirmation yet. So I was hoping to have that by today, but I don't. So.
What's his business?
His business? He is the executive chairman of a company that has created a disruptive suite of storage devices, servers and storage. It's going to change the whole server storage world, actually. He was a founder of the company, and so he's an IT guy. But he's been involved in entrepreneurial stuff. He's just kind of a serial entrepreneur. He started up businesses, but all of his businesses have been IT. But he also has a venture capital little firm that supports businesses in Eastern Europe. And yeah. Interesting guy. You've met him.
If you'd like to know more, drop your email address if we don't, or if you're not already getting our once a month updates.
Yeah.
And then I have to put a plug. The Startup Canada Awards are on Tuesday of next week, essentially a free party to see this ecosystem alive. A handful of folks, 6 of the 7 winners are from Whitehorse. And we hired 11 local foodiepreneurs to start, so Wandering Bison and Antoinette's.
Not fair, it's the wrong night.
And you're not even gonna be there, Barrett. Essentially from 5:30 to 6:30, it's just us treating you to the best food in Whitehorse, followed by the ceremony, and then an after party at Earl's where they're donating $10 of free drinks and appetizers. So it should be a really cool gifted night to come and celebrate this culture.
Too many good things, but
Everyone can go.
Oh, wow.
Just can't drink at underage. Thanks for joining us for this first one.
Well, thank you.
And if you have any feedback, please leave your email addresses, but if you have any feedback, we definitely want to hear it. My email address is here, but anything more or less or suggested speakers, or
yeah, thank you very much.
thank you,
So what
David.
he was saying, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was talking about like the cross-pollination thing. I had a
Don't
good
forget
friend
that you're
in
an
San
entrepreneur as
Francisco
well.
who's working on.
Call yourself, go, say it loud and proud.
When he wrote the business, his biggest problem was he could not get his app out. So he's a marketing guy. And he just messaged him, was like, you wanna come to Whitehorse, because they need a marketing guy. For his app, it's exactly like what you were trying to do.
I'm not sure if you know.
So, maybe you'll have a marketing guy.
Yeah.
No, it's a perfect, I don't even know why I didn't think of it before, but like, his thing was so close to it. I understand yours and his are like local business, so, and he's a marketing guy, like, he actually invented a product that he's got for sale on the internet all over the world. To invent a tour. He's a,
Once you get out of that sort of 2000.
yeah, totally. Well, his biggest problem was he was like, I can't get the website built. This guy is taking forever to get the app built. Like, it's just
So I might be,
you know, and I didn't even think of it until that guy said something and my brain went.
Well, one good thing,
Yeah, for sure. You haven't found it, you know, yet, have you? The marketing. yeah, that you were.
Yeah. Was a short
So is the question more about
Did you? But did you find someone?
that would support you in
Did you hire
someone
someone?
who would do a better job?
professional.
I guess you have, yes, how can I?
Do it.
But did you hire
One
someone?
of, like,
Yeah.
Okay,
at
so
least
there's
some
no
people who
position
wants
anymore.
this class.
No.
Oh, I don't, I don't.
I thought that you had it on.
Online coaching programs, but it's. I'm like,
Because I was mentioned.
oh, were you there?
Well, I was there for a year, like, I just, it was amazing.
Well, the thing is you've been trying to build this scaffold, so there's a market already that you've been working on. Same concept. I don't know if you ever got to that with them, but. We've actually, I forget when it was, but it's probably a couple months ago, I was like, hey, come check out the Yukon. You promised to do it.
Yeah, I know.
Actually,
Some of their maps.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't find they were there to sell. Or,
And I've been also
for me
chatting
anyway,
to
that's what I found, it was more information, and they wanted to really,
All right.
highlight some of the success stories, like being so.
Take a tour of experience.
Will you leave your address? After trying to do the awards, but I'll actually call Shopify and see if we can somehow schedule them together. I think it would be worth their trip.
Okay, well, they just were here, right?
And they said, depending on the feedback, we'll come back out, just for Whitehorse.
Well, they had to have had great feedback, like, I think anyway, so I was just, well, I went to, I don't know what year it is, but I was so impressed when I thought, like, I bought some. You went to Woodstock, and I was doing, I don't want to.
I think I actually have a car. Yeah, now that I can,
Thanks for organizing this. We're gonna do really good.
oh, good, yeah, well, we have some interesting people, if we can get the technical stuff to work. So it's
Oh,
not-
yes, okay, yeah. We are in this office.
Having them wear headphones will make you have a microphone.
So there's no, it's too late to say it. Why, I know that.
So if you ever need anything, check on our website. And you and I was at a meeting, and so we are, like the hub to ecosystem of the North, trying to spread so even free resources, let alone work.
I've been on the website, it's not information.
How long did it go?
Yes, and that's the Cannabis Center, I think it's called on the top part. Or just email the space for CBN.
Okay.
But anyway, no matter where you go, it has to come to me.
Oh, okay.
Lauren, yeah. It's Lauren Coast Space in the market, but it's go to the website, email us, and I'll get it anyway.
Oh, okay.
But if there's
You may want
anything you're interested in, or maybe we're essentially responsible and passionate about your venture along with everyone else.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They like that idea.
Yeah, oh, okay.
No.
Well, nice to meet you. Yeah, totally, thanks for being a part of that.
Our pop-ups.